It's the Puck Boys Fantasy Hockey Podcast with James,
Welcome, Puck Boys.
Derek,
Quality content.
Spencer,
He's an asshole, but goddamn, I would love to meet that guy.
and Max.
All right, welcome to the podcast, the first ever Puck Boys podcast, the podcast where four buddies are going to sit down and we are going to talk about fantasy hockey. Now, we are not claiming to be experts, but we believe that we have the tools to help you not come in last in your hockey pool this year. And this episode, the first episode, we are going to be breaking those down. But first, we're going to go around and we're just going to introduce ourselves and we are going to tell you just to kind of, so you can get to know our strategy and where we're coming from, our four keepers in our league that we are in together. Now, we are in a 12-team league on Yahoo. My name is Max. I'm going to be hosting the Puck Boys podcast, and my keepers are Alex Ovechkin, Eric Carlson, Jack Eichel, and Connor Hellebuck. James, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Max. I'm the commissioner of our league of record. And my four keepers are Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn. So I got the Dallas combo there. I also have Braden Holtby and Gabriel Landeskog. I'm really excited to do this podcast. I love fantasy hockey. This is what I talk about all day long. I have some great pals here with me that that's all we do. We talk about fantasy hockey. So I'm really excited to get this started off. Give you guys out there a couple tips to help you draft, help you with this upcoming season. A good pal of mine, Derek, what's up?
Not too much, Jim. A little bit about myself. Self-proclaimed fantasy expert. Graduated from Dorothy Linus in 2005, Dorothy Linus Elementary. I've been playing fantasy hockey ever since. Won this past season, champion. The past season before that, also champion. That's back-to-back. And this year, I'll be keeping Blake Wheeler, Patrice Bergeron, Nathan McKinnon, and Mitch Marner.
I'm Spencer, and I've been doing fantasy hockey since 2000, 2001, back in the day before Yahoo and doing pickup hockey and everything where ad drops meant absolutely nothing, where I was doing it with my mom and dad and stepdad and stepmom and other parents just because all my fucking family's divorced and don't love each other. And that's a huge thing that you should know about me is that everybody in my family is divorced, which leads me to my keepers. And my keepers, let me tell you, are Connor McDavid, ever heard of him?
No.
Leon Draisaitl, Morgan Riley, and Sergei Bobrovsky, the officer himself.
Bobrovsky, you're an embarrassment to the department, Bobrovsky!
So I'm feeling pretty confident going into this season, well, at least with my keepers.
Too bad neither of your parents were keepers. All right, so this episode we are going to be talking... And we're back. All right, so I don't know how to segue into this. All right, so moving right along, James, what is one tip that you can give to someone who, might be doing their first pool ever to help them not lose their fantasy pool this year?
First thing someone should do if they're new to fantasy is to know the rules of your league. So what does that mean? Are you in a points league? Categories league? Are you in a categories league? Are you in a points league? What do those mean? For instance, a categories league, that means that when you draft your team, every stat that they have goes into a certain category. So goals, assists, shots, hits. You're usually going to be in a head-to-head matchup, and whoever has the most of that certain category wins that weekly matchup. A points league would be something different. You sum up all the points that you get from one player depending on a point schematic. So that means a goal is worth, let's say, 1 point. An assist is worth 1 point. And you can include secondary stats like shots, hits, block shots, plus minus. Fuck plus minus.
Fuck plus minus.
Yeah, so that's what I mean by know your rules. In a categories league, so going back to categories leagues, what type of player would you draft, Derek?
I'm looking at guys like Tom Wilson in a categories league. They score goals, a few assists, penalty minutes are always a good one as well. Hits, shots, they basically do it all.
Yeah, I agree. Tom Wilson's great. Maybe a little later, maybe not a top round pick, but in categories league, he does everything well. Spenny, who's your guy you're taking in a categories league?
If he's available right from the beginning, Alex Ovechkin is the best categories guy you can possibly have. Another one is Brent Burns, a guy that you can get a bit later on because if you are... Ovechkin's going to get picked up pretty quickly. Brent Burns, people are going to be picking up all the other forwards first, but you see this guy sitting as a defenseman, and he's going to get you top minutes. He's probably going to finish in the top 3 for players in your league every season. So I'm going with Brent Burns.
Good stuff. Yeah, Ovi is amazing. This guy hits 200 times in a season. Compared to other top-end talent guys that score 40, 50 goals, there's no comparison. He does it all. Ovi, for me, is number 1, and I agree there. For points league, it gets a little bit more complicated, right? Because it's really up to your league how they structure it. So if you're just basing it off of points, then guys like maybe Johnny Gaudreau would be a great player to have because he doesn't do a lot of the secondary stuff that, Alex Ovechkin does. Moving on, Spenny, what's a tip that you would give to a new person in fantasy hockey?
If this is your first year ever doing a fantasy hockey pool, you want to be going in with balance. You want to make sure that you're picking positionally. You don't want to be picking too many of the same position throughout the draft. You want to be making sure that everywhere you go, it is balance. If you have an option between a center and a left wing, it's like, well, I have too many centers. You make sure that you're going with that left wing or another position that you want to be filling in that slot.
But another thing to keep in mind is if there are those really, really good players available, say at center, and you already have 2 or 3 good centers and you don't need any more, it can be worth it if your league allows trades to pick those guys up and look to trade them early in the season for someone that you do need.
Well, Derek, I'm really happy that you brought up trades because that segues into my point. And that's if you are new to a pool, let's say that you joined a new office this fall and someone in the office has invited you to join into the hockey pool that's been running for a few years. There is going to be an asshole in that pool who knows that you're new and he tries to abuse you.
Absolutely.
And it happens every year where somebody gets offered a trade from a player who earlier that day got put on the season-ending IR. So make sure if someone is being really nice to you and offers you a trade, just go and check if that guy's injured. Because sometimes those fantasy sites, they don't get updated as soon as some of the other ones. And, if a trade that comes through, and let's say Sidney Crosby gets offered to you out of the blue, he's probably injured. So
Take a look.
And that segues into my overall point of don't trust anybody.
Don't trust anybody.
Yeah, and to add on to that, get an app on your phone that gives you up-to-date information on your hockey players. Because you're right, if Sidney Crosby gets hurt, all of a sudden you have 3 trades of Sidney Crosby coming your way. Maybe don't do it, So that's a great point, Max.
Or maybe do it. Live your life. Who knows?
Yeah, fucking if you're in a keeper pool and somebody offers you Sidney Crosby for, I don't know. Jonathan Toews. If somebody offers you Sidney Crosby, he's out for the entire season, he's torn his ACL or his uncle got mad that he's still playing hockey. If he can sit on your bench and ride into the next season, oh, fuck yeah, buddy. You go for that. Any day.
For sure.
Or unless you're doing fucking shit and you need to turn yourself around, then absolutely not. Don't be dumb.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Again, if you're a first person in the fantasy hockey and you're in a keeper league, consider those younger players that are going to be studs for a couple years, like Connor McDavid, right? Hey, Spenny, or Kucherov, right? Right, Spenny?
Yep.
Or Cam Talbot, right?
Are you going to segue into something? Do you want to give some context to that, or do you want me to start explaining myself?
Let's explain.
Because I'm ready. I'm prepared for an answer.
Spenny over here has Connor McDavid as his keeper in our league of record, which is, in my opinion, probably the number 1 keeper to have right now.
Number 2.
All right, other than Nathan McKinnon.
At least you didn't say Kucherov.
Number 3, or maybe number 2, in our general opinion, is Nikita Kucherov from Tampa Bay Lightning. He's amazing. Last year he had a breakout season. Unfortunately, 2 years ago, Spenny traded Kucherov.
Straight up.
Pretty much straight off. There was other players in there for Cam Talbot. So, Spenny, you want to explain yourself there?
Yeah, James, I'll fucking explain myself.
You're going to need to.
Yeah. All right. So, no, it wasn't just a 1-for-1 for one thing. And I'm not going to even explain the other players into it, but there were a couple draft picks involved, and yes, I did get at least a first and a second. So fuck you. So what happened was Cam Talbot, when Connor McDavid actually got to Edmonton, obviously he's the best goddamn player, one of the best players in the league, and then he comes on to Edmonton, and Cam Talbot, all of a sudden, after he gets traded from New York, he becomes the best goalie, fantasy-wise, he has the most value out of all the goalies in the league. I missed that boat because he wasn't the hottest goalie in the league in his third year in Edmonton.
No.
So, because
bad,
I needed to solidify a goalie because I was filled up in all the positions, and if you recall that year, I did make it to the finals. I did lose by 2 points to fucking Skral. But anyways.
Have you been
So-
back since?
I have not, no.
Okay.
But anyways, let's get, fuck you anyways. What happened was I turned that trade around into picking up Leon Draisaitl.
That's a hockey, you know. It's only game. Why you have to be mad?
So because I love Trade City, that's what we call it. Every time I message Derek at 11 o'clock at night and say, hey, Trade City, he's like, yeah, Trade City. And then we never follow through. So at the end of the day, I flipped Cam Talbot around to pick up Leon Draisaitl. So at the end of the day, I'm not super unhappy. But when I see that Kucherov hits 120 plus points, yeah, I want to fucking fly over to, well, I guess now Calgary and murder Cam Talbot. He's probably a good guy, but whatever.
You know, I think that's a good point to touch on goalies, right? So if you're new to your fantasy league, goalies are extremely important. But again, know your rules. In our league of record, goalies are incredibly important. And Spenny here thought, I need a goalie. I need a good goalie. Cam Talbot is a great goalie. I'm going to take Cam Talbot. Now, there's some risk with that, right?
He did offer Frederik Anderson too, but
Bush League.
So one thing that I've used as a strategy for years that I find pretty handy is look out for homers. And by homers, I mean someone who is going to really favor one team. So let's use this hypothetical again that you join a new office, and I'm going to say, let's just say it's in Boston. So let's say you're from Toronto and you come to the office in Boston. I'm having, just a hunch that Boston players are going to be a little bit overvalued. So don't reach for Marchand and those guys. Let other guys reach and take them, and then you take the good guys who fall down the board. And don't overthink it. If you see someone who's really good and ranked really high on those Yahoo or those Office pools or whatever sort of format you're using, if you see those guys that they have ranked way higher, take them. Make sure they're not injured, but just take them. If you're a newbie and you don't really feel comfortable making risks, just play it safe.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd take Brad Marchand. I don't know about that.
Bad example.
And that's a good point, Max. I had a buddy in my office, and everyone knew he loved Detroit. Probably the wrong century to love Detroit, but hey, good for him. He drafted pretty much Detroit his entire team, and we all laughed at him, and he's like second last. So there's going to be those people out there that always go for their team. Let them. For new people, follow ADP, the average draft position. It's really easy, really simple. Yeah, like for basic stuff, follow ADP.
And just to kind of follow up on your guys' points too about picking a lot of players from one team, that's also, it can work in your advantage because you want to be picking a guy who's playing on a line with another guy. So if you're looking and picking up Kucherov, then you want to look at a guy like Steven Stamkos to play alongside him, or Braden Point, who currently is ranked going 50th, which is an absolute joke because right now he should be a first-round pick.
Oh, he's a top 10 guy.
Easy. And so right now he's just ranked way too low. So I don't know if it's going to stick around like that. But, that's a strong consideration, is keeping guys with line mates together. McDavid, Draisaitl, not too bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. Another tip for new people out there is the positions that you draft. In my opinion, obviously you need to get goalies. Goalies are important. But so are defensemen. There's only a couple key, really, really good defensemen out there. Now, this is obviously if you're only picking a couple players, maybe 20 players, there's a bunch of good defensemen out there. But if you're in a deeper league like ours, the League of Record, where we have 4 positions of 4 centers, 4 right, 4 left, and 6 defensemen, there's 12 of us. By the time you get to the bottom there, your defensemen suck.
Slim pickings.
It's slim pickings. So if you got to think about that, right? Like defensemen right now, I can only really see about maybe 30 defensemen that I want. Maybe.
So James, on that, because I don't fully agree with you there. I kind of, once Carlson and Burns are gone, and maybe you can include Morgan Riley up there now as well. Once those guys are gone, I think you can kind of sit on the defenseman for a couple rounds, because I don't think you want to reach and go for a guy like, let's say, who puts up really good points every year but isn't spectacular, let's say like Petrie, or someone maybe like Subban, or even Shea Weber, someone like that. I think that you can kind of take some of these wingers, maybe especially right wingers who are kind of falling down that board, and take those guys instead. And then you can always take a bit of a flyer on some of these younger defensemen, because there has been a shift in the league to these more offensive output defensemen who might not be really good defensive defensemen like Jake Gardiner, but he's going to drop down because he has a bit of a reputation, but he's still going to get you points.
Can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
A young defenseman who, Quinn Hughes is a very good young defenseman for the Vancouver Canucks. This year everyone thinks he's going to have a breakout season, right? Now, what if I told you could draft Matt Duchene at the exact same time as Quinn Hughes? Would you do it, Max?
No, I'd take Duchene.
You take Duchene. Okay. What about Evander Kane?
Yeah, I'd take Evander.
You take Evander. Okay, what about Zach Werenski, defenseman?
Now that's when if Werenski's there, I do love Werenski. I'm taking him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. I just list off 3 players, and the ADP right now for Quinn Hughes, those young defensemen, those are all players that are around that ADP. So, yeah, you're right. You want to wait for those young defensemen, but they're going quick off the board. And then that leads to my next point. Young players in this league are getting better and better as they come into the NHL. Last year with Elias Pettersson, he was amazing. I mean, he was hurt a couple times here and there. The year before that, Barzell had, over 80 points as a rookie. That's absolutely amazing. I mean, go down the list. The top-end talent coming out of the draft and going right into the NHL and making a difference, every year it's becoming more obvious that young players are the way of the future.
Who would you pick for your top rookies this year?
My top rookies. Okay. I'm a big fan of Cale Makar.
Yeah, massive fan. Fucking, yeah.
Yeah, this guy is a beast. Not only that, there's now an open spot for him to be on the first power play unit with Nathan McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen. Like, I look at him. He was drafted 4th overall in 2017. He played 10 games in the playoffs last year. So he joined them on their playoff run, and he didn't look out of place. He had a goal and 5 assists in 10 playoff games. That's amazing as a rookie. So that's my pick. When he was at UMass, he had 21 goals and 49 assists in 75 games. That's his speed, his IQ. That's the the rookie defense I'm going to pick. Derek, you got a rookie for us that you would take?
Yeah, I got a young guy that I've been keeping my eye on. Just left the Rangers, now playing for the Jets. Neil Pionk.
Oh.
24 years old. 18-19, he played 73 games. He had 6 goals and 20 assists. 13 power play points. 13 power play points. And with Trouba and Myers gone out of the Jets system, I think he has some big shoes to fill there. But with how injury prone Dusty Buff is, look for him to have a big year.
Fair enough. Spenny,
Just rookie or
young?
defense?
I guess Derek missed that. Pionk's not a rookie, but
It's his third year.
He's a good young
rookie
player.
Contract. I'm going with it.
It's all right. Spenny, do you have a young player or a rookie you have in mind you're going to draft this year?
Yeah, I've got a few in mind, but I totally agree with you with Cale Makar. I feel like that guy's going to be an absolute stud. He's a front runner for getting the Calder. If I were going to go next, I would keep in mind guys like Jack Hughes, Capo Caco.
Yeah.
They're going to be coming in. That was a strong couple first picks in the draft, and they're going to teams that are actually looking not too bad right now. So when you see a team like New Jersey Devils, and they've got guys like Taylor Hall and Nico Hischier, Kyle Palmieri, they just picked up PK Subban and
Wayne Simmons.
Wayne the fucking
Simmons.
Train Simmons.
Simmons.
So when
Taylor Hall's coming back.
he's coming back, and
he's
then
gonna
it
play
goes down
100%.
depth, not to just keep listing off names and but Blake Coleman and Pavel Zacha, shit like that. They've got a fucking good team.
Yeah.
All around, they have a solid team. And Jack Hughes is going to come in right away. He's going to fit in with those guys, and he's going to have a super strong season.
Jack Hughes, I think this kid is amazing, and especially since he just broke Alexander Ovechkin's record for the total amount of points in the U18 World Championship. He got 20 points this year. Last year, he had 12. That brings him up to a total of 32 points on the international stage.
Math on the fly.
Ovi, yeah, I'm an engineer. I should probably know math.
Shut the fuck up.
Ovi has 30 points, and he did that in 2002 to 2003. So this guy is a serious talent. He's going to come to this league. He's going to be amazing, but I think he's still a little too slender. I think he's still a little too small, and he's super skilled. He will get better. I just don't think this year he's going to be taking more of a backseat role to, some of the more experienced guys there.
One of the guys that I actually had to look up to make sure if he was a rookie or not, and he's not a rookie, unfortunately, and he is playing on the Devils, is Nikita Gusev. That's a guy that you want to be keeping your eyes on.
Absolutely.
All throughout the draft, because I don't know what his average draft pick is right now, but he's going low. And he's like ranked so fucking high in the KHL numbers. He's putting up huge points. He's coming into another strong team, and he's going to be doing exactly the same thing, playing top-line minutes with top-line guys. He's going to be an all-star in this league. He's 27, so he just missed the cutoff. I think it's 26.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, who's got him ranked at 206? That's their opening season rank, so keep your eye on him.
So just so we're not getting too long here, I would kind of like to wrap this up with a question for all of you, and it's kind of actually like a three-parter. So looking at the draft list this year, who do you think, if they're on the board, you're passing? Who's a guy that you think's going too high that you're looking to avoid? Who's a guy that you're going to try to draft at all costs? And I want some bold predictions. Who's winning the Cup this year? All right, so I'll go first. And one guy I'm just not that high on this year, I know he's a very talented player, is Alexander Radulov. Now, he's ranked on Yahoo for his ADP above guys like Jonathan Huberdeau, who broke 90 points last year and is still very young and could continue to grow, and above a guy named Brock Besser, who plays on the right wing for Elias Pettersson. Now, I'm not saying Alex Radulov isn't a very talented guy. I just think he's going to lose some minutes on that right wing in Dallas now that they've signed Joe Pavelski. And he's put up 72 points, 2 years in a row with Dallas. He's 33. I think the dip is coming. I think he's a little bit too overvalued. If he's sitting there a little later, take him. But where he's lined up to go in most leagues right now, there's too much value to reach and take him. And now, kind of leaning into what I said about Brock Besser, one guy I am super high on this year, and I know it's a bit hypocritical because I was talking about homers before, is Elias Pettersson. I think this guy is going to have a massive season this year.
Have you seen that guy's arms?
I think he's a threat to top
He's
100
looking
points.
big. He's looking big.
Huge. He is
If
looking
he
huge.
plays 82 games, I could see Pettersson topping 100 points.
Absolutely. As long as Brock Besser hasn't eaten too much in this offseason, we are good to go.
And for the Cup this year, I think I don't think any team's ever really had a heartbreak like that, but I think they're way too talented to stay down. I think Tampa Bay Lightning are going to set things right this year and win the Cup.
A guy that I'm not really high on, and some people might not agree with me here too much, is for a first-round pick, that is, to clarify, is Johnny Gaudreau. I just think in a categories league or a league where, or a points league where you consider secondary stats, Johnny Gaudreau is an amazing hockey player. Don't get me wrong, but the guy falls apart. And so for me, I know he gets a lot of power play points, and that's something, in your league, if that's, gives you a couple extra points, go for him. But for me, I'm going to pass on him in the first round. I'd rather take a guy like John Tavares. I'd rather take a guy like Alexander Barkov or Tyler Seguin. That's just me. You guys make your own decisions there. Someone I think that's going to explode this year, Taylor Hall. Okay, this is the MVP from 2 years ago. He's going to be healthy. He's going to be on a team that wants to keep him. Okay, they brought in PK Subban. They brought in Wayne Simmons. They brought in Gusev. They drafted Jack Hughes. This team wants to be a contender for Taylor Hall to stay there. This is a contract year for him. He's going to be going lights out. The team that I'm going to pick to win the Stanley Cup, the Nashville Predators. I want Nashville to win a cup. And with Matt Duchene going there, they have Ryan Johansson and Matt Duchene as their top two centers. They have an amazing decor. Even with PK Subban leaving, there's young guys like, Eli Toivonen. He might not even make the team. This guy is an amazing prospect. He might not even make the team. So they're incredibly deep. That's my Stanley Cup winner. Derek?
Bold move, bold choices, Jim. So someone I'm going to stay away from would be, in the earlier rounds at least, would be Rickard Rakell. Corey Perry gone. People are thinking he's going to have a big, big year, but he just didn't look how he should last year. So it's not something you want to go too high on. A player that I think is going to have a huge bounce back year because stats say he is Anze Kopitar. He is up and down, up and down, up and down. In 15-16, he played 81 games, had 25 goals, 49 assists for 74 points. In 16-17, he played 76 games for 12 goals, you heard that right, and 40 assists for only 52 points. And then in 17-18, the guy he played 82 games and went off for 35 goals, 57 assists, 92 total points.
I just want to cut in. He was on my team that year.
Oh, yeah. Good for you, Gummer. Good for you, Gummer. And then moving into last year, when James probably also owned him, 22 goals, 38 assists, only 60 points, another rough year. So look for him to have a big, big bounce back year. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to win the Cup. Absolutely, 100%, all the way through.
So the one guy that I would avoid, just because of where he's ranked, and not with his actual playing style, but because of how high he's ranked, I'm avoiding Ben Bishop. I'm looking past him and going for anybody else because I'm going for Bobrovsky, I'm going for Pecorine, I'm going for Frederik Andersen. All those guys are ranked a couple rounds lower. I'm staying clear away from Ben Bishop, even though I think he's solid. I think he's a great player. He's just ranked way too low.
Agreed.
Or, sorry, way too high.
Way too high, yeah.
Yeah, the opposite.
I'm actually going to be contradicting myself a little bit around here, but my guy that I'm going with, though, this season is Joe Pavelski. And so with Joe Pavelski, I think that him going onto a team like Dallas, he's going to be playing top-line minutes, and he's going to be fucking crushing it because whenever he's been on any sort of fantasy team, he's been that all-around guy. He's versatile. He's strong. He gives a shit. He's an ageless wonder.
Yeah.
It's Joe fucking Pavelski, which leads me to my Stanley Cup winning team. So this team, they have all the depth that you need. They have all 4 lines of forwards. They have all 3 lines of D, and then some. They have the goalies to prove this point. I'm going Dallas Stars.
Oh, there you go. Holy.
Spaggy.
Bold predictions from the Hockey Podcast, where apparently if you are on your rookie contract, you still count as a rookie. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next time talking about goalies and getting you ready for your draft.